Just cranking up now. When in Rome with an M. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just go to the meetup page. Right, so I'm just waiting for the YouTube stream to come up. Fingers crossed. Oh, come on. Ah, perfect. Yep, I can hear myself. Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, there is. This is like a 20-second lag. Yeah, so that's expected. Yeah. Cool. Right, I think we're ready to go. Actually, we're about 4 minutes early. What the heck? So talk amongst yourself for another 4 minutes. Otherwise, we're gonna have people online who will complain about us starting early. And actually, I guess while I'm waiting for to tick over 6 o'clock, I might as well do sort of introductions and welcomes and whatnot. So firstly, hello, welcome to our ProductTank event for August. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Really do appreciate it. Actually, let me stand in front of the camera so that Jax and Graeme can see me. No. There we go. All right. Okay, now we're good. Logistics of an event. So firstly, welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. Welcome to Rome. Rome is a digital consultancy selling to you. You gave me the elevator pitch before. What was it? What was the one-liner? I can't remember. Goldfish memory. Building digital products for enterprises. And thank you so much to Rome for hosting us and putting on the drinks and the pizza. We really, really appreciate it. If you're interested in hosting an event at your organization, please let me know, because we are always looking for events and speakers as well. I'm starting to plan out our September, October, November events at the moment. So if you think you've got something to share, please let myself or one of the other organizers tonight know. We are really interested in real stories of people's actual real day-to-day. We hear a lot of theory from from people like Marty Kagan and others around the world. The real stories, like I took this principle and theory or framework or whatever, and I brought it into my organization and I did this and it was a total failure. That is a really, really, really interesting story. So yeah, don't underestimate how much your stories might be of interest. Yes, no, definitely. Yeah, I always describe that. So I do coaching of organizations, and I describe my coaching as being like, I'm not sure I know what to do, but I know a lot of what not to do. So yes, definitely. Anyway, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Anthony Marta. I'm the organizer of ProductTank Auckland. We've got a bunch of other organizers here tonight as well. Thank you to the Davids at the back there and Wailong, who's downstairs, and I think Shane, who's going to probably help us out a little bit as well in the future. It's the volunteers who make this all possible. If you are interested in helping us out, please let me know. We are looking for volunteers to arrange events like this, do stuff like what I'm doing now, find speakers in particular, put events together. The more that you can help us, the better, because we are entirely run by volunteers. This is not our day job. This is very much what we do in the spare time as product managers that we don't have. Which is a little bit of a segue into tonight's topic. We know that this is actually something that I've been looking to try and find some people to speak about for probably about 12 months now. And it came from a bit of a realization that, we have like a really stressful job, and it's a weird role. We have stakeholder, we've got CEOs, we've got executive teams, we've got other heads of, we've got our engineering teams, we've got our sales organizations, we've got our support organizations, we've got our testers, and everybody wants a piece of us. And sometimes that's framed up in not so polite language or very high pressure kind of language, depending on the organization. And it's quite unique compared to, say, engineering roles where, you perhaps, you might get stick from, your architect or something for building something not quite as they expected it to, but you don't have all parts of the organization having a go at you. So, it is a uniquely tough role. And I personally, have burned out of an organization. And it was a realization that, it's really tough. So what I wanted to do was try and find some people who actually would like to talk about this topic. It took me about 12 months, but on Twitter, I stumbled across Jax and Graeme, and hugely appreciative to them for offering to speak to us tonight. One really important thing. This is obviously a fairly sensitive kind of topic. We are dealing with people's mental health, emotions and things like that. My request to all of you and also to our audience online is that please, be super respectful of the opinions that are shared tonight. We are live streaming this and we will be sharing the recording. So just keep that in mind if you're asking questions. If you do ask a question or you raise something that you think, oh, actually, I might not want that shared, let me know afterwards and we can edit that, make sure we edit that out of the recording because we do want to be really sensitive because it is a sensitive topic. That's a serious bit over and done with. How we go? Right, we've just ticked over 6 o'clock. Awesome. Hopefully, is it how we're looking online? This is why we need volunteers. Yeah, sorry to drop David in it there. So we'll just double check that the YouTube stream is working. Incidentally, for questions, we'll take questions from the room. We will also take questions from the YouTube live stream. If you are joining us on YouTube, how many people have we got? What's our vanity metric? Okay, that's okay. Slow start. Okay, all right. I'll have a look at that once Jackson and Graeme are going, just to make sure we don't have any technical problems there that are preventing people from logging in. So anyway, with that, I will let Jax and Graeme introduce themselves. Thank you again. Thank you so much for dialing in. They are dialing in from the UK, where it is what o'clock in the morning?
7 o'clock in the morning.
7 o'clock in the morning. All right. Okay. Yeah. So they are joining us, and they both told me that they are both morning people, so this was a good time for them. But yeah, I do super appreciate people who get up early in the morning for us. Right, with that, I'll hand over to the both of you. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Anthony, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. My name's Graeme Reed. I'm the group manager for product operations at Cobalt. Jax, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's really great to be here. I'm Jacqueline or Jax Goodley, and I'm a product manager at OVO Energy, which is a sustainable energy company in the UK.
Awesome, thank you. So our topic today is we're all flawed product managers. And this is a very provocative title, and deliberately so, because scientifically, yes, we are flawed in some way, especially when it comes to our mental health and well-being. What we're going to talk about is why this is okay. This is perfectly normal. And so and we're not flawed. We're not broken. We're just human. And forgive me, because this is the first time I'm using this. There we go. Presentation does work. So this is a quote from somebody that both of us know quite well, a guy called Nick Jamalta. Product management can be exhilarating and exciting. It can also be exhausting and overwhelming. And this is so true. And for everybody in the room, I'm sure that we can, we can really agree with this statement. Product is not without its ups and downs. And I think it's the reason why most of us love it. The potential for us to create impact, it's always changing. It's something new every day. And that can also be the thing that really tests most of us. We're not built to run at 100 miles an hour every single day. And interestingly, something that I learned quite early in my career, working for a company whereby we would be working and it felt fairly normal and fairly fast paced, and then all of a sudden we cranked it up a gear and kind of expected it to be for a very short period of time, and it ended up just becoming the norm, and was one of the reasons when I first had a bit of burnout as well, really understanding how fast paced this role can be and ever changing it can be. We're not made as human beings to juggle 100 things all at the same time. And it really can take a toll on us as individuals. We need to manage how that happens so that we don't become overwhelmed and we don't find ourselves, falling into any of the common traps. So something that I really aligned with quite a long time ago was that product management or product managers, I should say, essentially have 3 layers of challenges in their life. We have the work challenges that all of us will have in any role. The common things that are happening at work. We have our deadlines, launches, sales targets. We have conflicts with our managers or our colleagues potentially. We're going for promotion, etc., etc. We then have our home lives and the challenges that we all have at home. We have our financial, we have issues in our community, our relationships, our family, our health, any degree of mental health and well-being, whether that be loneliness, isolation, feeling unable to talk to others about, just generally what's going on in our day-to-day lives. And then we have the product manager role as well. And we'll look at some of those challenges as we go through the next slides. But this just adds an additional layer to what we do and who we are as individuals. And this is something else that we've been talking about for a long time, Jacqueline and myself, which is that ability to continually be your whole self, or sorry, your inability to be your whole self, because your whole self is the whole cake. It's all three layers of that. But in your workplace, how much of that can you actually share? How much of that can you actually be yourself? Maybe layer 1, maybe layer 3, but layer 2 quite often is something that you have to keep to yourself, or traditionally you have to keep to yourself. And then in our role as product managers as well, we are that face of product. We are always at the forefront of everything. So how much of our whole self can we actually be? Jacqueline very recently actually ran a survey at her place of work about what the pressures are for being a product manager. So we have a number of items on the screen here, and I'm sure we can all relate as product managers to these things. We say no a lot to many different people, and that's a challenge in itself. You don't want to disappoint. One of the things about being a product manager is that you want to build. Okay, you want to build, you want to be productive, you want to help people. So saying no and saying no constantly to people, it can be quite difficult. We have to context switch a lot between different projects. We feel responsible in some way for the people around us. Certainly something that I felt, and I know Jacqueline has felt as well, and many of you may well have done as well, is that by being at the center of everything, we constantly have to be taking the opinions and the wants and the needs of everybody around us from all across the business. And what comes with that is that emotion, is that stress that they are all under as well, where everybody in some way in their roles has those stresses and strains, and we all quite often take that on board as well. We have to work with a team that is isolated at times, and that can feel quite lonely. We're often in meetings all the time. That's just stressful, as it is in my previous role. I recently joined Cobalt. Previously to that, I was basically in meetings, from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Very rarely had kind of gaps in between. I didn't feel like I was doing much actual true work, because my meetings were just taking over my life. We sometimes find it hard to make impactful decisions all of the time. Okay, so imagine that I don't have to imagine you're doing this yourselves. You have to be constantly the one to be making decisions on the spot, and you have to be making the right decisions all of the time. You have to be taking all of that information in. Work at a business that doesn't stop. For many businesses, particularly where Jax works for an energy company, that's 24/7, 365 days of the year. And what are the things that are on your to-do list, particularly in product managers? It can be fighting fires, having to respond to people's queries and wants and needs. Actually, where do your plans actually come in? So there is a huge amount of stresses and strains, and these stresses and strains are unique to the product manager role. The product manager role is uniquely the central hub of pressure for most businesses, most tech businesses, most businesses that have product managers in them. And just to reillustrate that point, we're at the center of the business quite often, and that's not That's not grandiose. That's not saying we're the center of the universe. We are purely at the center of where people want to come to when they want to know about our products, when they want our products to be better, faster, stronger, when there's a problem with them, when they want us to sell, or when they want to be able to sell something different that our product may not already do. There are a lot of ups and downs as well, and I hope many people in the room and online can attest to this as well. I equate this to being like on a roller coaster, very visually, that we go up, we go down, and then we start all over again. So there are some great points. There are some real highs mentally with what we do as a role. When we have a really great day, we achieve a lot. We have some great meetings. We have some great outcomes. We release our products. We get some great feedback from our customers. And at the same time, the negatives that come with that as well. We didn't achieve today. There was a delay on our product. There were some bugs that came up. I had to disappoint some customers. I had to disappoint some staff. And so there's some real ups and downs with what we do as a role. I'm going to now hand over to Jacqueline, who's going to talk a little bit more about the mental health continuum, and then we'll start to talk a little bit about our own experiences in the product management and in the working world as well. Jacqueline, I'll do the slides as well.
Yeah, I'll say next slide and stuff.
Yeah.
Right, thanks, Graeme. So yes, I would like to now talk about who this talk is relevant for, and just a spoiler, the answer is everyone. So. But to go back a bit, I think sometimes with the stories that we hear about mental health from so many different sources, so it might be the media, it might be casual interactions we have with friends and family, we're led to believe it's sort of an us and them kind of thing. So, we have those that have the capacity to really struggle with their mental health, and they'll often or could often be called mentally ill, if you want to use that kind of language. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum, well, it's not even a spectrum, they're separate. You have those that have fine mental health. And I think the way it's portrayed is that you're either in one camp or the other. You're well or you're unwell. And actually, the truth is that it's very much a spectrum or a continuum. And this is why talking about the subject is so important, because every single person on this planet has the potential to go through extreme mental distress on the one hand, but also to feel balanced and healthy and mentally well and all that really good stuff. So again, it's really important that we look after ourselves, because no one has perfect mental health. None of us are immune. And I know, for example, I've been through every single stage on this continuum. I've been both very mentally unwell, and Graeme and I will share our stories in a bit. And I've also been excelling and thriving and all that great stuff. And if I were to say where I was today, I'd say I am thriving, which is really lovely. And the other point I want to make is that we don't need a diagnosable mental health condition to be able to talk about this stuff. So, you'll hear about my story later, but I'm blessed with the depression diagnosis. That's my particular specialism. But, even if you don't have that label or diagnosis, even if you're just feeling super low or flat for, a couple of weeks, but it's not depression, or you just feel really nervous like all the time and it's getting to you, but it's not necessarily diagnosable anxiety disorder. These are all examples of your mental health just needing some TLC. And, not everything has to be pathologized for it to be worthy of our attention. And if you feel really fucking shit, to use technical language, that is as good a reason as any to change how we're looking after ourselves. And actually, it's essential that we do that if we feel like things that we're struggling with things. Next slide, please, Graeme. So as mentioned, we're now moving on to mine and Graeme's stories. Why are we here talking about mental health? Why is it relevant to us? Why do we know kind of what we're talking about as much as anybody does with this topic? So just a very quick rundown of the different things I do. As I said, I'm a product manager at OVO Energy, a sustainable energy company. I'm also co-founder of Graeme, the Product Mind community, which we'll tell you a bit more about later, but that's about mental health and product. And I'm also an author and illustrator of a book that's going to be released in 2024 in New Zealand as well, funnily enough. And the brand is My Sketchy Head. So, do lots around mental health. So this is just, next slide, please, Graeme. Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel like Boris Johnson. Anyway, enough about him. So this slide is me sharing some of my background and to share why I am someone who A, cares so deeply about everyone's mental health, and I mean that really genuinely, and B, why do I want to talk about it in the hope that it will create change. So I thought, like all good product managers, we should look at the data. So I've run some numbers here, and you can take those in your own time. Now, the reason that I share this is because I believe the only way that we combat stigma and shame and misunderstanding around this topic is by sharing our experiences. And, I'm not saying it's easy for me to share this stuff. It's still not really, but I do it because I think it makes a difference. And I think it helps other people to be more open about how they've struggled. I also want to make clear a couple of other points quickly. This last point I've made about the therapist that helped me. I share this as kind of a sign of hope because there are so many positive stories to come out of people's struggles. She gave me the tools and the techniques I needed to look after myself and to move through this world with the new confidence and determination that I could really get better at managing my mental health. So, I really want to say that there are so many stories of hope and positivity. And the second point comes back to what actually qualifies as a mental health issue. So, you could look at the slide and say, yeah, Jax, you've been through it. Okay, fine. And I think, though, sometimes we can feel undeserving of support because we perhaps don't feel that our challenges are extreme enough. So, yes, but my numbers here paint quite a difficult past 10 years. That's my experience. But it doesn't matter what you've gone through, if you've been diagnosed with anything, had to take medication. If you feel like you're struggling in any capacity and that you could do with support, you are entitled to acknowledge your challenges for what they are and to get the support that you need. Next slide, please, Graeme.
Oh, hang on. I've lost me thing. Sorry.
It's all right. And this is kind of thank you. This is the kind of point that I lead with. Mental health issues do not make you broken. They are a normal response to abnormal or challenging life circumstances. And actually this thing that we feel scared to share and we feel isolated about, it's actually something that can unite us because you talk to anyone, everyone's struggled, everyone knows someone who's struggled. And actually, unfortunately, in my case, depression is a normal thing. That's how humans were built. And actually, it just makes us a person in this world who's having to deal with some difficult stuff. And that's kind of the message I want to really share.
Thanks, Stefan. A little bit about myself. When we introduced ourselves earlier, so I'm group manager for Carval, also the co-founder for Product Mind community. Now, my story is roughly the same length of time as Jacqueline's. I suffer with depression. I've gone through various episodes of this in my time. For me, the trigger that I've actually been able to really identify and pin down is big change. So big changes in my life are the things that kind of kick this off for me. First started when my first daughter was born, and then since then it's breakdown of long-term relationships, changing jobs. It can be something for me, changing jobs and learning to meet new people. Although very interestingly, when I recently joined Cobalt, was only about 4 weeks ago, I loved every moment of it. Not even a snifter of depression coming back for me for that. Moving house, things like that, anything like that, whereby I think that it's really kind of almost a line about the nostalgia of what has now changed, what I'm now not going to kind of get back again. Life, jobs, things like that. I can overthink things, and I tend to focus on then the negatives when I'm thinking like this. And I run those negatives over and over again in my life. And this hits me this can hit me in a big way, where I've been bedridden for weeks on end, just not been able to physically get up. I have been suicidal twice in my life over the course of those years. My depression has at times threatened my job. It certainly threatened my relationships, and quite heartbreakingly for me, more than anything else, it has threatened the relationship with my oldest daughter as well. I had situations where she doesn't actually live with me. She lives with her mum. Have a great relationship with her mum still. Great relationship now, certainly with my daughter. There were times when she was very, very young, long before she would ever remember, where I was clock watching because I didn't want to be around her anymore, and I would be sitting there watching the clock, waiting for her to kind of go home and things like that. It's complete opposite now. I sometimes clock watch because I don't want her to go home, and we're having such a great time, and unless she's in a weird mood, and then I can't wait to get rid of her again, to be honest. And in some of my episodes, I've been completely alone, by myself, nobody around me to help me. These were very, very hard to deal with. Others, I've had my partner of now 9 years around me, which is still hard, but very manageable, and for me, a lot quicker to get through. This has spilled over into my work, absolutely. With those pressures of being a product manager, just constantly nagging and hitching on your head. But I think that what's important about certainly mine and Jack's story is that these are the stories of very much our personal lives. And if anybody online or in the room has kind of experienced anything like this, it might not be depression, it could be anything like this, whether it be mild or severe. You know how all-encompassing that can be in all of your life. And I come back to this point about being able to be your whole self. And to come to work, it's difficult to then be your whole self with that anyway, let alone in that product manager role where you have to constantly have a smiley face on and be taking those orders there to help everybody. It always reminds me a little bit of something like customer service, where the customer is always right, and our customer is everybody else that we then go and talk to in our business. One thing for me that really does help, and it really has helped me certainly over the last few years. I should mention, by the way, on that continuum, I think I'm on about a level 4. I forget which one it is now. The level 4 of that.
Thriving, Graeme.
That's it, thriving. Where I've been like that for a good number of years now. Really all good and fine. But for me, the biggest, the most impactful statement for me is that to accept that this is you, and that you will get through this. So if you're in an episode of anything, whether it be depression or anything like that, it can be scary, it can be daunting, many, many other potentially negative emotions that go with that as well. But you will quite often want to sit there and think, well, how did I get here? What did I do wrong? Whose fault was this? Or quite often it's my fault. What did I do wrong here? And for me, I've really come to the point of accepting the fact that this is who I am. I will always have, this about me. And I've accepted the fact that I will almost certainly, something will trigger it, or I may naturally just fall back into another episode of depression at some point. I know the warning signs for me. I can take action very early on, but I don't beat myself up that I've hit this buffer again. I'm not back on this big down slope of the roller coaster. I focus on getting through it, and I focus on the fact that, okay, this is me. I'm not going to beat myself up that I'm here again. I'm going to focus on getting better and accepting that I may go through this again someday. Don't judge yourself because you've got to this point. Focus on what's coming next. I'm going to hand over back to Jacqueline to talk a little bit about the things that we've talked about here, the key outcomes we wanted everybody to take away from this.
Thank you. So yes, one of the great things about any sort of struggle, particularly with your mental health, is that I found there are always lessons to come out of this stuff. And even the times, so, when I've been depressed, just to share a bit more, I can't leave the house, I don't go to work, I can't see my friends, I can't go for a walk around the block in case I bump into someone I know, I don't even know many people where I live, all this stuff. And it feels like you're just repeating the same stuff, but there are always lessons to come out of this. So we just want to share some of those key ones now. Next slide. So the first one is, sorry, one sec. It is all about understanding and recognizing our own personal tolerance levels and limits. So everyone is different. We all know this, and that is totally okay. So personally, I've had to come to peace with the fact that I need to be a little, or sometimes a lot, more alert to early warning signs of things being difficult or being too hard on me. being more aware of those signs than most of my peers, which was quite a difficult thing because I'm a high achiever. I do well at stuff, and to know that sometimes I struggle a bit more was a hard kind of realization to make. But like Graeme just said, this journey is one of coming to terms with things and accepting yourself for who you are. So I've had to build an awareness of the fact that in spite of this, so on top of this, I know that I'm a little bit more sensitive sometimes, but I'm also someone who, regardless, will try and take on more and do more than probably pretty much anyone else I know. It's something I find hard to resist. I can't really explain it. I also think if you've been very depressed for a while, when you get better, you're like, I'm just going to do it all. I'm just going to do everything. So I know that I have a tendency to push myself too much. I know what my capacity is, and I know that I can very easily overstretch that capacity. So with these factors in mind, what I feel is that, it's important that I put a plan in place which helps me to understand when I've reached my own personal limits, and that's different to my friends, to my family, and everything. And I need that plan, and I need it frequently, and that's okay. And it's about learning about ourselves and recognizing these are the things that are too much for me to deal with, and these are the things actually that are all right, and they can just rumble on the background, a little bit stressful, but I'm all right. Next takeaway. One size fits all, that one size doesn't fit all. There is no one size fits all. And actually our mental health is unique to us, and so is how we manage it. So sort of what I was saying on the last slide, when we're thinking of ways to improve how we feel, it's important that we cast quite a critical eye at our own unique situation. Graeme and I have both been depressed. I can guarantee the things that caused it, the things we do when we're depressed, the things we need to get better are all very different. And managing our mental health is all about problem solving for us. So for me, it's essential to be realistic about the situation we're in, to be honest with ourselves about what is actually helpful for us, and sometimes pushing ourselves to do the stuff that feels hard, and to put in place actionable steps that we know or we believe work for us. So, if you're sitting next to someone in the office who's blasting through a stressful period of work and looking like the most resilient person in the world and seemingly doing it with great ease, meanwhile you're feeling overwhelmed by those same elements, that's fine. We need to put them to one side, and we need to think about what is difficult for us, pay attention to those things, and think how you can help yourself to make them less difficult. And it's all about problem solving for you as an individual. And then takeaway 3. Graeme's point from before, you are not at fault for feeling this way. Focus on the journey ahead, not how you arrived here. Humans struggle, and that is a fact. And as we know, anyone who says life is easy is just bloody stupid. So it's not easy. And the last thing we need when we feel bad about ourselves is to beat ourselves up even further for even having landed in this situation. These things make us normal, as I said. So why should we feel at fault for being a normal, fully functioned human being, albeit we have our struggles? And recovering from mental health struggles of any kind, or just helping yourself to feel a bit better, is a gradual process. And it's made up of the tiniest of steps sometimes, all strung together until one day you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I've come so far, and I'm not depressed, or I'm not feeling low or anxious. And it's that journey, that gradual, that sequence of gradual steps that you need to focus on, and nothing more. And takeaway number 4, and the final one. Talking and sharing is always part of the answer. So all of these things we've talked about are made easier by the right support. Sometimes just sharing, getting the fact that you're struggling off your chest, just that is all you need to start feeling a little bit better. And sometimes it could be a part of the answer. Sometimes just sharing can almost be the entirety of the answer. Sometimes it's just that need to not feel alone. So, but I do want to say, I know this stuff isn't easy. I always say, the more you talk about mental health, the easier it gets, but it never gets easy. I never find this particularly easy, but getting through this stuff is easier when you have the right people around you to lift you up and share the load. So I urge you all to really lean on your support networks. That could be a manager, it could be your partner, a close friend. And I appreciate, I really do, that it's so hard, or it can be so hard to do this at work. I'm not pretending that it's always easy. And personally, I'm lucky in this role to have a great, really understanding manager who I could tell literally anything to. I'd probably tell her a bit too much, to be honest, about my life. But I haven't always been in roles with a supportive manager, and I felt enabled unable to share at times. But then think about your work peers as well, and those colleagues that you're closer to. They can be an incredible source of support and a lifeline and an understanding ear. And it's particularly good because you're people on your level, you're all in this together. And the more we share, the more that others feel they can share. So yes, it can feel scary to share, and it can feel like we're a burden. And actually, that's one of depression's favorite lies, as some of you might know. You feel like, that you don't want to put that on anybody else. But I honestly promise you, the people who matter to you in your life and who want to be there, who want to support you, will want nothing more than to be there for you when you need it. So please, please do share, and don't be afraid to talk to somebody. That's that. And that is the end of our talk. But just to say, and Graeme can jump in as well, as Graeme have mentioned, Graeme and I have mentioned, we run the Product Mind community, which is a safe space online at the moment, maybe becoming partly in person as well, for product managers to discuss and get advice about situations, challenges, issues to overcome in their own workplace from all over the world. And you get advice from like-minded professionals who mostly are having experiences similar to yours or have had those experiences before. So it's really a safe space to challenge these ideas and norms around, always having to be, this idea of not being flawed. We're saying, come, be your flawed self. That's great. And just discussing some of the common challenges in our profession. There's stuff around best practice in product and practical tips for getting through the role, and looking at ways we can tackle those together. And overall, it is a space to talk, as I was just saying, and to people just like you. So Graeme and I both absolutely love running it, and we love that it gives us opportunities to do stuff like this. And if any of you would like to join, please do. And then I'm just going to do a little plug for my own book, because it is being sold in New Zealand, and I don't want just one person to buy it out there. So yeah, I'm writing a book called The No Bullshit Depression Sketches, a guide to overcoming low mood and depression. And it's an illustrated self-help guide on how we can all learn to look after our own mental health. Some people can't afford therapy, some people don't have support networks, and it's my attempt to use my lived experience to share the lessons that I've learned. And it's out in January 2024. Graeme, please close.
Great close, Jacqueline. Thank you. I just really want to say thank you to everybody that's listened to our drivelling on about our experiences and our thoughts on this. I think that there's some really interesting points here that Jacqueline and I have both experienced years of this, and many people will also have experienced years of. We're focusing kind of depression because that's our lived experience, and I think that's the point of what we're trying to say here, is that we've got experiences and we want to share those experiences. We're also product managers as well, or product professionals, and so we also know the pressures that come with that as well. And that's what really kind of kicked off actually the Product Mind community, was just shoving those two things together, and almost seeing what came out of it, and really then starting to know and understand that it is a unique role. It's a unique role that we absolutely love doing day in and day out, but it comes with its challenges. And I'm sure there is, absolutely the same space for this sort of very niche problem to solve, if I dare say that. Certainly a convergence of one role and mental health all across the working world. We're product managers, and this is the area that we focus on, and that's obviously everybody in the room and online. We're all product managers or product professionals, and we all kind of feel the same as well. But it is a very unique role, and it comes with its unique pressures. And I think that's okay. And I think that's the key takeaway here, is that, it's absolutely fine. We are not built to deal with that pressure consistently and constantly over time. And so how do we make ourselves adapt, but also give ourselves some space and some time, and to not keep putting pressure on ourselves consistently, to constantly be doing better, to be doing doing more, doing better things all of the time. So yeah, and so just really thank you to everybody that was listening to us for all of this, and hand back to Anthony for any questions that have come online or in the room. We can't see them, and we might not be able to hear if anybody shouts out. So Anthony, you might have to interpret for us.
Yep. If I don't remember to repeat the question, please remind me. No, firstly, thank you so much, Jax and Graeme. Thank you for being so vulnerable, open, and transparent. Can we get a round of applause for our speakers, please? I'm hoping you guys could hear the applause. I hope, did that work?
Yeah, we did. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
Awesome, great. It's always good to actually hear that through the things. It's a little bit unique when you're doing stuff online to actually have real applause, which is kind of nice. So no, thank again, huge thanks for the talk. Just to pick up on one point there around community, look at the person sitting next to you, behind you, and around in this room. These are our people. These are the people who can help support you, both through ProductTank Auckland and through Product Aotearoa across the country as well. One of the reasons why we're so passionate about this community is it was set up to provide a support network for product managers, partly because in New Zealand, with so many small organizations, we know that often, you're in teams of, you might be by yourself as a product manager, you might be the only person in the organization with that role, you might be part of a small team of 1 or 2 or 3. We don't have many organizations that have large product teams with large support networks. And so this is why we set up this community, why we're also passionate about this community, was to provide that link that you might not get inside the organization, because some of us have been fortunate enough to work for large organizations where we have had that. And we look at the other people in the community go, actually, we want the community to have what we've had inside our organizations. And then obviously that then brings with us links to global, really clever, smart people who are open and transparent and will speak about these things as well. So your support network does exist. And as I said, it is these people, and people will always be willing to sit down with you and go, right, this is tough, I'm struggling, and it's okay to say that I'm struggling. Somebody will know about that problem. So, so if you are in that situation, see myself, see one of the other organizers, I'll share the link to our Slack community after the event in the comments. If you're not already part of the Slack community, somebody will be able to help, because we want to retain people inside this industry. And I sort of apologize a wee bit, because I know we had a few people in the room here are perhaps either new to product or thinking about getting into product. It's not all bad. To pick up on what Graeme was saying, it is an amazing role, and we get a lot out of it. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't. But it does come with its own unique pressures. And so the point of what I'm saying is that we do have a support network in the community here in New Zealand willing to help. Anyway, sorry, that's enough rambling from me. Firstly, let's see what questions we've got here in the room. Sorry.
Oh my God, here we go. I've not experienced people in the workplace sharing very much, but if they share a little bit, it is normally to say, I'm unwell or I'm struggling. How do we help people if they share or don't share? How can we help them best?
Jacqueline, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'll start. So this is an excellent question, and actually it's something that I'm looking at, because in my company I'm the co-lead of the mental health network, right? So we're trying to provide resources, support for people struggling with their mental health, or people supporting people struggling with their mental health, which it might be a peer, but often it's you're a manager, a people leader, and you're trying to support your team. And it's really difficult, because if you don't have experience of going through that stuff yourself, it can be really scary. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You're not sure what support they need. And actually, really, there's no right thing to say, and there can be some wrong things to say, being honest. So it's tricky. My advice would be, in the absence of kind of steps to follow that your workplace might provide you with, is just the most important thing is to lend a listening ear. Don't try and fix anything. Don't try and suddenly point them to a charity that shouldn't be the first thing you do. Don't try and send them anywhere. Go speak to this person. Just listen to them. And ask things that you would ask about anybody you care about. Imagine your mum came to you, or your child, and said, I'm really struggling. Just imagine that. And as best we can, we need to take the fear of it and just think, this person needs someone to talk to. I need to understand how they're feeling. And then you can go from there. And often I think you'll find, the bit the bit that's really missing for this person is just being able to share. And by sitting there and listening to them and asking them questions, how are you? How do you feel? You know, how are you feeling today? Is there anything I can do to help? All that stuff that we do as compassionate human beings. I think that's the best thing that you can do, personally. And I know it sounds a bit flimsy, but I really truly believe that's what most people need.
Yeah, I'd 100% support that. Jackson said exactly the right things, you know, that I would say as well, that just listen to what they've got to say, you know, lightly encourage them to just share what they want to share. Don't encourage them to share things they don't want to share. Don't push too hard. If they want to talk, you know, they might say that, you know, people might say, oh, I'm not feeling so great at the moment and things like that. They might be looking to talk to somebody. They might be looking to talk to you specifically. It's a good chance they've reached out to you specifically because they trust you, they know you, or maybe they don't. Maybe actually they just want to talk to somebody they don't know, because that often it can be very helpful for them as well. Just listen and encourage them to try and just gently share more, because the more that they share, that genuinely the better that they will feel. This always does come with some kind of health warnings a little bit as well, and this is not meant to kind of put anybody off listening or making themselves available. But don't promise things. Don't try to fix their problems for them, or try to get involved in anything else like that. And importantly as well, you have to look after yourself in this. It can be so easy to be sucked in to their problems, and that problem either becomes your problem, or you then start you know, feeling awake at night worrying about their problems, things like that. It can sound a little bit callous, but you have to look after yourself first. It's that kind of same thing that we always hear on kind of on aeroplanes, you know, with the oxygen masks. Look after yourself first before you start helping anybody else, and the same kind of goes with this as well. But outside of that, listen. Just listen is the biggest gift that you can give anybody.
A lot of nods in the head at that one. Thank you. What other questions have we got in the room here?
Hi, my name's Joe. Yeah, I was just thinking, from a sort of more team leader or management position, what sort of practical things can you do to like put more focus on this space and actually allow your team to kind of share this sort of stuff and not burn out so fast?
That's a great question. From my perspective, and I'll certainly hand over to Jax, because Jax has been doing quite a lot of work with this. What I've done with my teams in the past is provide what I call safe space. Now, what this is basically a dedicated space in my diary to allow anybody to kind of come and join on a one-to-one basis, but not to talk about necessarily work, although it could be used, you know, if they want to talk about something that's worrying them at work. But generally just a space in my diary. My diary used to be certainly very, very busy, so that they know that they can come and speak, and it's all off the record, and it's all kind of just available as for someone to come and speak and talk you know, to me, or potentially other people as well, although I've only ever set it up for myself. I think as well, it's just generally good practice and good habits and things like that about really encouraging people to kind of work to, you know, their hours, not encouraging, not even suggesting that there should really be, you know, working beyond hours and things like that. Encouraging good practices about just not checking emails after hours, not responding to bits and pieces. And even as managers as well, is little things like, well, actually be mindful about when I'm sending these communications, whether it be an instant message or an email. You know, think a little bit about, well, I'm sending it now at 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and that's convenient for me. But what is the impact if someone is then checking their emails? Are they then going to be thinking about this and thinking about it late into the night, wanting to work on it, things like that? And something actually that recently came to my mind as well is about actually the communications that we are having with our subordinates. Is about kind of how we communicate with them. So, and it's little things like, John, can I grab you for 5 minutes for a quick chat or something like that? And you might not necessarily know that the mental implications that has on somebody. Oh, is it? Am I going to get fired? Am I in trouble? What have I done? What could I possibly done? What's he going to want to talk to me about? And I picked up on, really on that quite by accident. Not that affects anybody that was working for me. But now when I'm talking to people, I'm a little bit mindful. So, John, could you have a quick chat? Just talked about this project, got some ideas about this and things like that, just to put them at ease that they're not worrying about what's suddenly going to come on. And it's little things like that that can have a really kind of big and long-term impact, particularly as managers. Jackson, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, just to add to that point that Graeme made about how we speak to people, I'm really bad for if someone slacks me, if they go, hey, and then don't put the rest of the message in the message, I instantly think, oh, that's it, I've probably getting fired, which is the most absurd. And it's it happens a lot. I've been fired as well, as you saw in that slide. So I've actually said to people in the past, people I'm close with, by the way, when you message, could you please, if you've got time, try and put at least the first sentence along with the hey, because it's my issue, but I get really nervous you're going to fire me, and not people laugh and it's funny. And that's the example, just talking kind of normalizes it. But so what I would say is the first thing you have to think about if you're trying to help your team with this is to acknowledge that if people aren't sharing, it's because there are probably some obstacles to sharing. So largely it's that people don't know that it's okay. They might not feel comfortable. Some people are never going to feel comfortable to share, and that's fine. I used to be that person, believe it or not. I couldn't even say the depression word back in the day, and I couldn't tell anyone. And some people never share, but there are some things we can do to let our teams know it's okay. And before we try and do anything, that's what we need to do, because we need to create an environment, as Graeme did with the safe space, that says, do you know what? You can share here, and I'm not going to think it's weird, and I'm not going to think that you're shit at your job. And if you do share, you're not going to be the odd one out, because we all feel empowered to do that. So one of the things that really helped me when I first joined OVO, where I work, is, and this blew my mind, because I'd been working at startups, and there's less space often to take the time to support people in startups. But I'm now at a large company, and I was sent what they call a wellbeing action plan. And this was something like 10 questions that asked me about my mental health, asked me what I found stressful, asked me how I might seem if I'm struggling, asked me how I would like to be supported if I'm struggling, signs and triggers and all that stuff to share with my manager if I wanted to. Now, I appreciate that lots of people, A, haven't thought about their challenges in that way, and B, wouldn't feel comfortable sharing even if they had. Luckily, I've had 10 years of this stuff. So I was like, yes, I'm right. That's the first thing I did. I got on there and I sent it to my manager, and you can have a conversation. That is a great demonstration from a company. You could even do it at team level that just shows, do you know what, we actually care, and you can tell us, and we're going to be cool with it. And then the last thing, and Graeme alluded to it, I've been doing quite a bit of work with my own team. I'm not a leader, I'm a product manager, but I ran, I lead my, obviously, team of devs, but I'm not a people leader. And I ran a workshop that was basically kind of parts of this talk in it, which is problem solving, how we can all feel good in our roles. So, and I'm happy to share, it's a Miro template, I can share that afterwards, but it's basically looking at like each of us saying what we find most stressful, putting on a spectrum of like that thing about, it's not in this, but like some things can just rumble away in the background, they aren't too stressful. Some things are just we can't cope with, and we need to address those. And then looking at where we are, where we'd like to be, the gap, and how we address that gap. And actually you find when you start to do that stuff with your team, you can think of really practical, actionable steps. Like one of them, to give an example, was I keep having these deadlines that I can't meet because things are outside of my control, these fixed deadlines, and I can't control the fact that we're missing them. So one of them is, well, commit to flexible deadlines. Say, this would be the ideal delivery. This is a stretch, and it's contingent on these things. And it's about how you communicate. And anybody can do that. We're not having to search the depths of our souls and bear it in front of everyone. We've just, as a team, come up with a really practical way to make us feel a bit better about the fact that we keep missing our deadlines and it's not really our fault. So yeah, I'm happy to share that workshop as a thing that you can do with your team to show that it's okay, and then also help them come up with strategies to feel better about their job.
Awesome, thanks. We'll see if we can post that link to that Miro as a comment on the meetup page if anyone wants it. And actually, just a quick follow-up question for you, Graeme. You mentioned that that safe space time. That's presumably an online remote thing? Is that how you do that?
Yeah, but very simply, what I did is just create an hour's worth of space on a Thursday, I think it was, every week, that was dedicated in my calendar. Now, the purpose of this was to firstly make sure the space was available in my calendar. My previous role, as I said, I was basically in meetings all of the time, and I made sure that everybody in my team, I had a team of 8, knew that that time was always available. To them to just literally just drop in and come and talk to me, and as I said, it was not necessarily about anything in particular. If they just wanted to have a bit of a chat, if they wanted to talk about what the football was was going on or something like that, but it was a dedicated space. And the idea is that it was designed to kind of replace, because I work, sorry, I should have mentioned this to make it more clear. I'm a remote worker. I work from home all of the time, and actually the last 2 companies I've worked from have been remote companies as well. So it was that dedicated space where it was replacing kind of, let's just go to the canteen, let's go to the water cooler, let's go to the office, and let's just kind of have a chat about something. But what was important is it was a space that was always there and available to them. It's very easy for us as managers to be able to turn around and say, yeah, my door's always open and things like that. Well, it's not, because my door's open if I'm not in a meeting, or I'm not doing a presentation, or I'm not already one-to-one with somebody else. The idea is that this was always there and available to them, and they knew that.
Cool, thanks. Do you have any questions online, David? No, nothing coming from online. If you are online joining us on YouTube, feel free just to pop questions into the YouTube chat, and we've got someone here who's keeping an eye on that. While we're waiting for that, any more questions from the room? Question for Karina.
Hey, thanks so much for sharing your stories, first of all. One of the tips you mentioned was the spotting or looking for like early warning signs. Would you be able to share a little bit more from yourselves, or maybe from others in your team as well? What are the typical warning signs you have experienced, and I guess how do you go about them?
Yeah, shall I start, Graeme?
Yeah, go for it.
This is a great question, because I am the biggest advocate for the need to spot signs early, because with depression there comes a point, if you catch it early enough, you don't slip down into the big hole. You kind of like, oh, I'm all right. If you leave it too long, you're in there, and then you're a bit screwed for a little while. So I'm a huge advocate for it. Am I good at it? I'm getting better. I'm not good at it. And again, as I said, as someone who's good at stuff, I do well with stuff I try hard at. It really annoys me that I'm not that good at it. And it's hard, because it's it's a combination of so many things, and you kind of suggest what are the things we should look out for. And the point is, it's individual to everybody, as all mental health, which is why it is so hard to really kind of feel like we're in control of it sometimes, for everybody. And my warning signs are very different. And my personality is such that often if I see a problem that I feel I can't handle, I will run away from it and bury my head in the sand. And that's not the best approach when I'm working on it. So I can only talk for myself, but I guess the point to take from this is going through it is the only way, and just paying attention to yourself, giving yourself the time, investing in yourself like a product, let's say, and thinking, what are my triggers? So to give you an example of mine, or not triggers, what are my warning signs? If I make myself go to the office most of the week, because if I don't, I get quite low if I stay at home. I make myself go to the gym almost every day. I don't make myself, I love it, but I do go to the gym every day, because that's the thing that's best for my mental health. But if I stop doing some of these things, or I think, I just can't be bothered, and then it slides into, I'm not going to the office 3 times a week, I'm only going in once a week, and when I'm going, I'm dreading it. Or if I'm just barely going to the gym, usually when I'm depressed, I stop going to the gym. So if there's any change from your normal pattern of life, that's one thing to notice. Another thing to notice for me is I become very quiet and withdrawn, and it will start, again, that spectrum, it will start with me being like, oh, I really don't want to go to that birthday party, and I don't know why, but I just don't feel like myself. I don't think I'll be fun to be around. I haven't got any conversation. I'm tired. I don't want to the point. And then it'll get to the point where I can't, because I'm too, I've got too much of this voice in my head saying whatever it's saying, making me not want to go. So it's like anything that's different from your normal personality. I'd be withdrawn at work. I'd be quiet. I'd not be speaking up in meetings. I'd be avoiding speaking to my manager. and my friends don't hear from me as much, and it's those things. And yeah, so it's not, those are my things, and the work that everyone has to do is to think about what their things are. But I would say, again, lean on your support network. So I'm very fortunate. I have very, very good friends, and they've helped me immensely. And, you know, one of my friends will always, before, you know, I can't tell anyone depressed. I can't get those words out of my mouth ever. It's something I'm working on. But she will come to me if I've been a bit quiet and be like, Jax, you're being a bit quiet and I'm a bit worried about you. And I think you need to think, you know, is everything okay? And often she's right. It's like the start of, you know, so it's really, if you have those people around you, you know, let them know that they can share if they're worried about you, and they will probably often be better at noticing things aren't quite right than you might be at first. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I absolutely echo that. It's very often it's a change. I'm not sure I can speak to kind of spotting signs in other people. I can only speak for myself, but I know that it's a quite a big change in personality. Can be quite hard to spot in other people because it could be a gradual thing. But for me, it's a loss of passion, I think, is the biggest thing. It's a big disinterest with wanting to do things. I'm a quite a logical person. I like problem solving, and that's in various, you know, I you know, when I was decorating my house at home, you know, I was really impassioned about planning and what we were going to do, me and my partner, what we were going to build, how we were going to have it, what colors we were going to have, everything else like that. I remember that I think realistically, I think it was the last big time I suffered with a depression episode was we were decorating our bedrooms, and it was quite a big renovation that we were doing there. And we were halfway through it. We were moved into my daughter's room. My daughter was moved into the spare room, so everything was all over the place. And it really just hit me. And I actually don't remember this. I tried to think back. I don't know if I've blocked it out or whatnot. I don't remember. But my partner says is that for about 2 weeks, I basically didn't do anything. I didn't work. I was bedridden. We didn't do anything. And I look back and I was thinking, we got that bedroom done really quickly. And she says, no, you don't remember. It was a long time we did that because you just didn't do anything, and you were so disinterested. You couldn't do anything. You didn't want to get up. You didn't want to get out. You didn't want to do anything in and around this. So for me personally, kind of those trigger signs, those warning signs are, you know, have I lost interest in something? Have I become, you know, just fed up with doing anything that I used to enjoy doing? That can be work, that can be projects, that can be home. You know, I can quite often be then also very preoccupied with things as well, things that actually take me away from the people around me. So I can be very preoccupied with things at work, even though I don't want to do them. I can be very preoccupied, overthinking, constantly sitting there, you know, with my children or with my partner or with friends, and just constantly thinking about, you know, this, that, and the other at work, and not doing anything about it, but it's just constantly on my mind. So those are some things for me. I think Jack's hit it on the head as well, that everybody is different. Everybody will pick these things up differently. And obviously we're only talking about kind of depression. That's the big things that we've suffered as well. Everybody will suffer or can suffer with a multitude of different conditions, and the trigger signs and warning signs are all different for all of them, and indeed in yourselves as well. I think the key takeaway is trying to notice changes in yourself, something that doesn't quite feel right. And quite often, if you've gone through what is called an episode, you know, once, maybe twice, before you start picking up on what those signs are, what are those common triggers, what are those common warning signs to yourself. It really does come down to experience, in our opinions.
I think to add to that, have people around you who are able to watch you as well. So, you know, talk to your manager, you know, and also for yourself, something I was just having this coaching conversation today with someone, spend 10 minutes at the end of the week just retrospecting on what happened in that week. As, you know, what changes do you notice? What pressures did you come under that you felt like you weren't dealing with successfully, or was troubling, or just, you know, you just went a bit quiet? You know, just take a moment, write it down, you know, maybe share that in a one-on-one with a manager or someone that you trust in the organization, and just go, you know, did that seem normal to you? You know, get that external reference point. Cool. Anything online? No. Any other questions from the room? Nope. All right, I think we're just about on 7 o'clock, so it's just time to finish up, I think. So again, massive thanks to Graeme and Jax for joining us. Really appreciate it. Again, just to reiterate, really appreciate your openness and transparency. You know, we know that this is a really sensitive topic. So, and again, I ask everybody to be respectful of this as a safe space and as a safe conversation. And afterwards as well, you know, hopefully people will be able to talk more about this. I will share the links, as I mentioned, to the Product Aotearoa community. I'll share the links to the Product Mind community as well. You know, I've just recently joined it, and I have to apologise to Graeme and Jax. I've been nowhere near as active in there as I would have liked to have been, but there's lots of really good conversations going on in that space. So yeah, do join in if this is something that you care about, either for your own self or, as I said, to help other people in the community as well. Right, just one shout out. We've got Suki at the back there, who runs ProductTank Tauranga. So we have a fairly new ProductTank down in Tauranga. She has an event on September the 6th, featuring talking about product in Tauranga City Council, which is going to be really interesting. So shout out for that. Is that one going to be available online? Are you going to be streaming that one? Okay, streaming at 9 a.m. Awesome, cool. Looking forward to it. That will be really good. Yeah, it's good. You know, one of the things we also want to do as Product Aotearoa is connect together the voices from outside of Auckland, because what I said before about, you know, people even in Auckland being isolated within their organisations, we do have a growing number of product people who are in places like Tauranga and Napier and Dunedin and whatnot, and those are very small communities. So we want to try to do what we can to try and support them. Right, and again, massive thanks again to Karina from Rome and the Rome team for helping us out tonight. We've had a few Rome people around, which we're really super appreciative of. There is more pizza. Please finish up the pizza. We don't really want to take it home, so please finish that tonight. Karina has told me that you're welcome to hang around for as long as you'd like to, or until we sort of have enough and decide it's time to go home. But no, definitely there will be time to hang around afterwards. Yeah, so again, thank you so much for coming out. Massive thanks to Jax and Graeme for joining us. Have a great evening, and everyone. Cool, thank you, everyone. There are some, I think, still drinks in the fridge as well. Yes, cool, fantastic. Cool. And sorry, Jax and Graeme, I'd love to offer you a drink and a bit of pizza, but I haven't quite figured out how to get it through the screen to you.
Yeah. It's a bit early in the morning. It's a bit early at 8 a.m.
Yeah, so a bit early for a drink. Maybe a bit of pizza, I don't know.
Yeah, why not?
But again, yeah. It's like, again, huge thanks for joining us. Like, really,
thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, it's been, we were so excited for this the whole week, so and before. So thank you so much. It's been really great. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. All right.
Cool.
Take care, Anthony. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Anthony. Thanks for having us. Bye.
See ya. Bye.